Hello, I'm Miss Emma, Director of the Reading Hut. Thank you so much for joining me. I just want to give a quick overview of something I call snap and crack. It's about getting a snapshot of a little part of a book or a text, and we often actually snap a photo as well. We snap a photo of a page and we put it on the whiteboard, and we're going to crack the comprehension. So it's part of a wider range that I call cracking comprehension. But snap and crack, really quick activity. You can do it in 10-15 minutes, anytime, no preparation. And what you're going to do is actually get the kids involved in creating the questions, and it's going to become something that is really quite student-led, which is at the heart of everything that I do. It's about getting kids to be involved in their own learning, so they are active learners, not sitting there and sort of doing a lot of listening. So very little listening. So I often refer to this as less teaching, more learning. So we're just shifting the way really that we focus. The focus becomes on the activity of the learners. Okay, so what's snap and crack? Now, one of the most difficult things for teachers is when they have children who can't read independently the text or can't decode the text. So when they're first given the text, whether it's a guided reading session or what have you, they're given the text and those children can't actually read the text themselves. So the teacher reads the text. Now that becomes actually a different activity. That's about oral comprehension. What we want is for the children to be involved in actually working out the code on the paper. So the talking on paper, the way we represent spoken words, the sounds that we use on paper. We want to get them involved in actually decoding the text, reading the text, so that they can actually be much more involved in the comprehension. So I do this as part of my Phonics learning toolkit, which is the speech sound pics approach. And within the SSP approach, we have 4 phonics code levels. This is when we're introducing children to the high frequency graphemes. And if you're in the UK, you'll know those graphemes as part of letters and sounds, or the graphemes that are tested within the Phonics Screener check. So 4 code levels. Now the children learn the 4 code levels, and they're green, purple, yellow, and blue. They'll learn them using the A3 coding poster, which is about phonemic awareness, grapheme recognition, blending of those graphemes into words, turn over, there are chants, high frequency words, and using the high frequency words and those code level sentences to actually bring it all together. So this one A3 coding poster is kind of like a whole letters and sounds program on one A3 coding poster. That is plastic laminate that the children write on and rub off every day.
Press the spot down the bottom that's got the green monster eating the laptop. Can you all press that button, please?
30 seconds. You did it last time.
Excellent.
It's okay.
Now I want you to scroll down to the green code level.
Stand. Hello, stand. Sticky words.
There is this. Some. It's eaten fishing. All eaten one. We, I, high. But I, bite. All, walk. Eight.
Oh, give me a thumbs up. Beautiful. Well done.
Finish it. Pan. It's in the pan.
Wow, so every day yeah, you try and get a bit faster, don't you? Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
I can't hear where we're up to because I can't.
Yeah. I know, for me as well, I can't remember. I did this one so long ago. What's that word? What's that sentence?
Okay, this one.
What's that sentence?
Stands, sits on the pins.
Oh, to at and stand, spit, stand, spit,
Spit.
That's a tricky one. That's a tricky one.
I should plug into these when you say that.
What's that one?
Stand, spit, stand, pips.
Yes, stand, spit,
Stand.
stand, spit, pips. How fast was I? Was that really
The
fast?
and is on the... I was quite quiet when I said it, but I said it the same with
You
you.
said the same speed as me. Well, you're just a superstar.
I can hear you.
High five.
I can hear you in here.
Oh, can you hear me in there? Oh, goodness me.
You in there.
Am I in there?
You're in there.
Oh, what do you have to do now? Do you have to write now? Are you going to show me your letter formation now?
Yeah.
Oh, ah.
And the
Do. Can you do them that fast?
Just. Oh.
Oh.
Just. I've already done it. Can you see this? Jack.
Oh, you'd have to rub off your board first. So next time it comes out, you can probably pause it, rub off your board and start again, couldn't you?
Okay.
And then you can actually, if you know those, you can write them as fast as you can see them. That'll challenge you. We're always up for a challenge. Purple level, it means when we come to the code and poster, you're going to know some of those, aren't you? Here. That's why we do this first, so that when you go onto this, you can remember see what you remember.
We've done the purple level.
Are you on the purple level? You're just too clever.
Awards for the poster work, please. Who loves poster work?
I love the poster work, and I love how organised you all are. Do you know how lucky you are that you've got such an organised teacher? She's making sure you know exactly what you need to do. Where am I?
There.
Where am I with my cup of
Tea.
tea? I love
After Andy say, the king says do, and you have all cup of tea.
and I have my cup of tea.
Are you staying here all day?
I am going to stay just the morning, but then I'll come back again tomorrow.
Picture now. Ring ding ding sing ring ding wow. Queen bee sweetie jittery toad. 8 banks I find chasing down the road. Jelly belly, he's a belly chicken licking spoon. Timble, tumble, tumbling, rumble, flying to the moon.
The. Is. And.
Most amazing thing in college is not your work or not.
So I have teachers that have had these with their children for about 5 years. They're there to last. So it might not be cheap as chips to buy, but it will last you. So in the end, it's just an amazing investment. You can also get the code levels as individual code levels. So green code level, purple code level, yellow code level, and blue code level. The downside of using them like this is that the children, when they're using this one, want to move up a code level within the time. So we have about 90 seconds on each activity, but it really encourages the children to keep going and doing as much as they can in the allocated time. And of course, the other thing as well is that whilst we're doing this, we've got the 100 or so high frequency words. So there's a lot more for your buck when you do it that way. For some reason, some people used to say to me, oh, that's overload, that's too much, until they come in and actually watch 4 and 5-year-olds busily working at this, and I absolutely love this. I have most kids that I work with ask for these for Christmas because it's something they just want to do over the holidays. And that's always a good sign if the child wants to do this when they don't have to. So alongside learning these particular graphemes, for example, in the green code level, it might be at, it, alongside learning to do that, they're actually going to be practicing blending those graphemes using their code level readers or decodable readers. And in with these, you're just going to have a few high frequency words. So at the beginning of the book, we'll tell them, you're going to be reading this. You can read this on your own. I can read without you. You're going to read this because we've got the graphemes and the high frequency words that you already know and are practicing.
Let's do the green level coding poster sentences. Pan.
The ant and the pan.
The pan. No code mapping. Say it in a speaking voice. The ant and the pan.
The ant and the pan. The ant.
Now, because I didn't have time to write hundreds of code level readers, what I did was, you can download this. There are at least 500 or so books that you can get. Some of them are free downloads, some of them you can buy, all different publishers. There's about 500 books there, and I've gone through them like mine to see which are the graphemes, which are the high frequency words. So I've slotted them in, so you can use this with the books that you probably already have in school to say, okay, let's reorganize the books. We're going to actually organize them according to the code level and nothing else. So the phonics is the focus here, blending those target graphemes, but we're also mapping, code mapping the high frequency on the back of the poster. All the high frequency words are code mapped. That's my trademark, and I filed this as an innovation patent, and then somebody's copied it, and I found that actually filing as a patent is not worth the money. So I will trust people not to just copy me without credit. So this is my technique that I've been using for over 10 years, where we code map all the words. So we aren't showing where the vowel sounds are, the consonant sounds are, which is what people have been doing forever. What we're doing is we're actually just segmenting, contrasting, 2 contrasting colors, or 3, because we're also showing the split vowel digraph, which I call a sandpit sandwich. But this shows the words black, grey to show where the graphemes segment.
Hi, boys and girls. This is set. Okay, we're gonna find set.
Can you find that word with said in your cloud? With the S? Good job. Said.
Can't spell the word said.
Yeah, we can.
And I said, well, do you know, not only can they spell the word said.
Three.
Draw the 3 lines.
Good job, Olivia.
And put your choices on the top.
Good job.
True. Let's do it like that. You ready? Oh, saw. He. Town. I need to see somebody do it like I did. I went. Town. Can you do it?
I can.
I'm watching. I'm watching. Say quickly. Let's do it. Town. Are you ready?
I, Ed, is on. So was. Till you think. see, saw, up with, said.
So nothing to do with vowel sounds or consonant sounds or what have you, which you'll never hear me talk about anyway. People get really confused with vowel sounds because they think it's linked with A, E, I, O, U letters. It can be, but actually there are a lot of vowel sounds, and some of the vowel sounds are represented by consonant letters. So let's not get teachers confused, let alone children. Okay, so these are all code mapped, the same as the decodable sentences. So we're clearly showing the children, yes, that's a whole word, but this is how it's segmented. This is the phoneme to grapheme mapping, because we're getting children to move towards orthographic mapping, which is the current theory, accepted theory with regards to how children learn to read. So let's do that. So I want you to look at code level books, or even if you just create sentences yourself, I want you to think of every sentence as which graphemes are in there. Is that the code level the children are working at, and which high frequency words are in there? If you've got high frequency words in there the children have not seen before, just make sure that you map it with the children first of all. You say, here's the word, what can you hear? What are the sounds? That's duck hands. Said, okay, tell me which is the picture of the speech sound for s, which is the picture for the speech sound which is the picture for the speech sound d. So in the word said, it would be said. They might know the s, they will do at the green code level. They might have seen the d, which is at the purple code level, and they probably won't have seen the AI as a representation for but in this word, that's what it is. And children are absolutely fine with that. So get rid of your sort of phonics and the rest of the code, because the phonics that you learn in letters and sounds is a quarter of the whole code. So get rid of that as if that's the code and that's what's so important. It's not. We're using that code to introduce children to skills and concepts, but they need to know the whole code. And if you've noticed behind me, have you seen on my wall, my speech sound wall, can you see the speech sound clouds, green, purple, yellow, blue? Well, those show the children the whole code. So on the outside of every cloud shows the ones that we're going to look at in the 4 code levels, but on the inside are all the others we're going to explore. So we're going to explore them when it's meaningful to you, and we're going to explore them during the Speedy 6 spelling, which is another learning toolkit. We're going to explore them during the Speedy sight words. We're going to explain the whole code. So if we've got our phonics, we've got our snap and crack for comprehension, we've got our Speedy 6 spelling, and we've got our Speedy sight words. All of those together are about the whole code. It's about oral language, phonemic awareness, systematically taught phonics. We use visual and linguistic phonics, not synthetic phonics. Fluency, comprehension, vocab knowledge. We're bringing all of those together, and we don't have just a focus on phonics. And the phonics we teach, we're covering all of it, because we're doing it in a way that's focused on the activity of the learner. So we've got some of it that's very structured. However, the children work through at their own code level. So you will have, using the code and poster, some children who are working at the green code level with at itten, alongside children who are working with split bar digraphs and all sorts. Because if a child comes into school already at a higher level, I'm not going to stand there and ask that child to learn sapping. So what we do with the code levels is we say you've got 4 code levels we want you to get through. Whilst we're looking at those 4 code levels that we're using to teach skills and concepts, we're also going to explore the rest of the code. And then once you get to the end of the yellow code level, if you're in Australia and you use PM benchmarking, that's roundabout, you can start them on roundabout PM 10. If they're reading at SSP Blue, then you can start them at roundabout a PM 20. That's unseen text, because the skills that they're learning as they're going through from green, purple, yellow, with the high frequency words as well, and the exploration of the whole code, it means that you can actually give them those whole language books, and they're not going to memorize, guess, predict, whatever else. They're actually going to look at the text first to see the decoding in the text But yes, they are going to use the other clues if they don't know that code. That's what we're teaching them as well. And that is supported in the research. And what I want you guys to do is to stop listening to this really narrow view of the science of reading, which tends to sort of be phonics and a particular way of teaching phonics. I want you to get away from that and actually look at the research, because the research is about everything that goes in to learning to read and spell. And that's what we cover. That's what I cover. That's what I do. That's what my whole life is dedicated to, is about the learner activity and what we're giving children so that they can learn all of those skills, those 6 skills that I just reeled off: oral language, phonemic awareness, etc. So that's what we're going to be doing. So snap and crack is, again, something that is very scaffolded, but is not the only thing we do. So when we do snap and crack, we're going to choose, if the children are learning at written, it's a lot more challenging for us because we've got less resources. So we might just give them lots of sentences that we've actually created with at-itten, that S-A-T-P-I-N, graphemes linked with those particular phonemes. So if I'm going to do snap and crack at the green code level, which is just at-itten phonemes with just the S, just the A, the T, the P, the I, the N as the mapping, because remember, there are 14 different ways to represent a, 2 ways to represent a, etc., etc. And if you're not sure, have a look at the clouds, make sure you get a set of the clouds. These are A5, the ones behind me. So in the green code level, we've just got that, those 6 combinations, those 6 mapping of phonemes to graphemes. So it means that when we're going to do snap and crack of just text that has got a few high frequency words, here, is, at and stan, sit, then it means that the children are not having overload, cognitive overload, because they know what they're doing here. So they're not using all the working memory trying to work out the words or trying to keep up or remember what you've just read to them. They can actually figure it out themselves. And then we can focus on the comprehension and the vocab and, or all the oral language skills and what have you. So it's important when we do snap and crack that you understand the child's code level. There are variations that I'll talk to you about another time where you can actually use text that is not at their code level, where you use speedy paired code mapping, another of my techniques. But what I want you to do is think, when I'm going to do snap and crack, 10-minute activity, it is going to be at their code level, so that the children can read it themselves first. You don't have to read it for them. That's really important. So of course it gets much easier when you're working at the blue code level, because they've been introduced to more graphemes. They've been introduced to the schwa, brother. The ER represents the schwa here, or in another word, it could be representing So there's all lots of different skills and concepts that we've already covered, but it means the children know this is the blue code level. So if I'm doing snap and crack, I'll say, are you blue code level? Might be one child, a whole group, what have you. I'll say, quick, go and get me a blue code level book, and we will take a photo of one page. Let me just choose a page at random. It might just have this bit of text in it. So we're going to take a photo of it, put it on the whiteboard, or put it in a clear plastic thing, and you're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, because there are 4 lines there. That's what matters. It's not about sentences, it's about lines. And then what we're going to do, after the children have read it, and they've said, and they've recorded any words they weren't sure of the meaning, we might talk about it then, but then we're going to have quick fire questions. I might ask questions, the children might ask questions. So I might say to them, just imagine there's 1, 2, 3, 4, just there. So I might say, was Sandler happy that Alison won? Was Sandler happy that Alison won? And the children would say, no. How do you know that? Because on line 4, it says, Sandler gets very upset. And upset doesn't mean happy. It's not the same as happy. What does upset mean? And we talk about it. Well, what makes you upset? You can talk, you can have a 10-minute snap and crack, or it could be an hour-long snap and crack, depending on how much you want to let the children talk and discuss and what have you, which is just heaven to me when I see that. But look what they've done. If you have a normal comprehension activity, the teacher will often have read it and the children have visualized, and they might be really good at that. And they might remember the story. And when you said, was Sandler happy? They'll say, no, he was upset. And they know that not because of anything here, but because what they've heard you read to them. So then when they come to a reading comprehension task, they're going to really struggle, aren't they? But this, because this is their code level, they could actually decode this themselves. It means that there's not all that working memory being caught up on what is that? What is that? They get to the end, the fourth word, they can't remember what the first word is. They can actually read this, and if they needed any help, then they would know how to ask for help. Again, some techniques that I will teach you in training. So, and the number 4 means I know that child has actually read it and taken it in. Sometimes it could be 2 different ones. So it could be, you know, like number 3, I might say why, and they might say, well, because number 3, because Alison won by a lot. So he was probably upset that he didn't just lose, he lost by a lot. There's so much. I could ask questions about this for half an hour. It's 4 lines, 1 little bit of text, and I could, you know, find out so much about the children. But what I want is I want the children to ask questions as well. So this activity is fantastic because we know in our phonics toolkit, so we know when we're teaching our phonics, the children are going through those 4 code levels. We know when we're teaching the Speedy 6 spelling, we're exploring all of the phoneme to grapheme mapping combinations, as well as vocab and what have you. Speedy sight words, we're doing that as well. So our children will read and spell about 300 to 400 high frequency words at the end of their reception year. So that's, they can spell them as well, not just recognize them, which means that they know so much of the text that they're going to pick up at random anyway. And we've got Snap and Crack, which is what we're doing. Snap and Crack is about that oral language, it's about the vocab, but it's about reading comprehension skills using text they can read, but we're pushing them. So we're inferring things. It's not just a straightforward, you know, who played cricket, Alison and Sandler, because it's there. We're inferring things, we're predicting things, we're using our understanding of the English language. There's so much that we're doing in there, but it's so well structured that the children feel like, oh great, I can do this, and we can focus on what we need to focus on. So those 4 sort of main strands that we've got at the moment, our main learning toolkits that we've got at the moment, means that every child can succeed. It means I can take a child out who's working at the green code level and still do a Snap and Crack activity, or I can take children out who are at the blue code level. Now, I want these children off the blue code level by the middle of year 1. By the end of year 1, I want the children off the phonics. That's off all of those high frequency graphemes that you see on the outside of the clouds if you look at my spelling wall. Speech sound wall. So the end of year 1 is when every child is reading to learn, reading for pleasure, reading to learn, other than perhaps 5% of children who we've identified already that there's something else going on that we're looking at, and they're already getting an intervention. So 95% of children reading to learn before they go into grade 2, and the other children already getting their intervention. Compare that with what the expectation is at the moment, where we're testing children for basic phonics at the end of year 1. The children will be so far behind, they're losing out on so much. So do the phonics screening check, but do it at the end of reception, and aim to make sure that the children have got up to the blue code level, in which case they can pass the phonics test. They've got up to the blue code level before the end of reception, and so your year 1 is reinforcing and consolidating. Now, if you would like me to come and mentor a year 1 or reception class, Key Stage 1, I can show you how this all happens. I can show you how we can differentiate with this class of 30 children so that every child is working through the phonics code levels at their level. The activity is on the learner activity, and the focus is on the learner activity, and you will rarely see me in the front of the classroom. So it is very different to synthetic phonics. You will see a lot of technology being used, because if I've got 30 children, I need them to learn the graphemes at their code levels. So they're going to use the technology. I cannot stand in front of the class and teach graphemes, because some children knew them a year ago. Some children are not ready for them. So the way I teach is I use technology that I share with teachers so that we can teach the basic mathematical phoneme to grapheme mapping, recognizing those graphemes. That's something that the children don't need lots of explanations for. Within the technology that actually already did also developing the phonemic awareness, because there's no point whatsoever at looking at a letter and saying a sound and not being able to blend those sounds together. But also we don't look at letters in isolation. So everything is meaningful. I don't want a child to look at a letter A and go, ah. I want them to say to me, yes, that could represent ah. It depends on the word. It might represent 7 other speech sounds. It depends on the word. That's what I want. I want children who do the phonics screening check when they look at a word like SUT to say, yeah, I could tell you that might be sut if you just want the basics, but can I give you other options? Because the S could represent s, so perhaps it, S could represent sh, so perhaps it's shut or shut. The S could represent z, so is it zut or zut? So what we wanted the children to say, yeah, I can give you the obvious, that's your tick for your phonics screening check, but can I give you the others? And just so you know, I did this with some 4 and 5-year-olds, and we found that the word SUT, there are 108 different combinations, different ways to say that word, if you actually use all of this that we're exploring behind us. Some of you are thinking, what? Come and watch one of my classrooms, come and talk to one of my 4 and 5-year-olds, and they'll explain to you about the code. Because the code is often something that seems quite baffling to adults, but that's because of the way they were taught it or told to teach it, whereas I'm showing you different ways that children can all learn it more effectively. So anyway, I'll shut up now, and thank you so much for joining me. So if you want, I'm in the UK at the moment. I've got restrictions for travel because of COVID, so I can't get back to Australia, which I would normally get back to Australia every term. Can't get back there yet. I'm hoping to get to America as well, but if you'd like me to come in and demonstrate, if you're in the UK and you've got an inadequate school, sorry, I hate those labels, but if you've got a school, if you've got a class that's struggling to read before they reach year 2, you know, I'm in Dorset, so ideally not in the middle of Scotland, but if you would like me to give you some feedback or to help or to just come in and have a look, just chat to teachers, I'm here. It's what I spend my whole life doing, and yes, you'll soon get to know that. If you don't love literacy, we might not have too much to talk about. So thank you so much, guys, and I'll chat to you again about another of my inclusive learning toolkits on another video. Bye. Bye.